Morning, everyone. Today is the 17th of April. It's already second part of the month. So I hope you guys are having a good month of April. It has been a while since we last spoke because it was the Easter holiday. So welcome to another weekly market analysis. My name is Pedro, senior market analyst at Alphachain. And what we do usually is to take a look at what happened last week. What are the big catalysts for this week, and how the market may react? Which direction should you expect the market to go to, and what levels that may be interesting for us to pay attention to as well. And you go through the major indices, FX, commodities, and then of course finish with crypto, in particular Bitcoin and Ethereum. So last week, as you know, the biggest catalyst. It was the CPI data, which came out cooler than expected, and the market reacted positively to that. On a monthly basis, it was at 0.1%. The market was expecting 0.2%, and we managed to reduce 1 full percent from 6% all the way to 5% at this point. The CPI data, the core CPI. Came out as expected at 0.4%. At this point, I think, if not mistaken, it's around 5.4%, which is even higher than the normal CPI. The reason for that is because of the reduction of price in the energy. That's the big factor, and food as well. Where the inflation in services and shelter they keep getting higher, and that's one of the reasons to have this disparity between the core CPI and the CPI. However, that may change in the near future if, by any chance, the price of oil keeps going higher. Right, since basically 2 weeks ago, when some of the OPEC members decided to cut the production in basically 1.6 million barrels a day. That may lead the price of oil to go higher, right? And we have seen that. The price of oil, it has been trading now well above $80 mark, and there is a chance that can continue, right? The International Energy Agency actually released a report last Friday mentioning exactly that. With the reduction in the production, and if the economy actually starts to show a little bit more of a strength, the demand may increase, and that will for sure lead to the price of oil to go higher. And that can be again another problem for the central bankers, because again the battle is still the inflation, to try to reduce as much as possible the inflation, and that can be a big problem for that. Aside from the CPI, what kind of other data did we have last week? We had the unemployment claims, second week in a row with higher numbers than expected, as you can see in here. And we are breaking above that range at price that unemployment claims has been like below 200K. So last week we had 228. New numbers and new unemployment claims, and now the week just last week it was 239. So it's on the rise, and this is something that we have been expecting, and the Fed also is expecting due to all these hikes that we have seen. We are expecting the unemployment to start to increase, right? And one of the main figures that you're going to be paying attention to is exactly these unemployment claims, because it comes out every week, and it's going to be a good visualization and data point to start to forecast when maybe the non-farm payrolls is going to actually start to increase. So if you keep going like this, to start being in a range between maybe 240, maybe getting even closer to 300, that market for sure is going to react to it. Again, the speed of this acceleration as well is something that we're going to be looking at, because we are expecting it to go higher. We just don't know how fast that move is going to be, like how fast the labor market is going to get worsened. So that's another data, and one of the main points as well to look ahead for this week. Then you had core PPI coming a little bit lower as well, which is good news again with inflation. So we kind of do two data regarding inflation. They were cooler than expected, so that's good news. And then you had one of the biggest moves of the week, right? It was last Friday, especially in FX and commodities, not so much in the indices, which was with the core retail sales. And we saw the market basically moving exactly at the same time as the news came out. It was worse than expected, retail sales at minus 1% on a monthly basis, with the core retail sales at minus 0.8%. But it was quite of a move. In the market, it looked like more of a non-farm payroll type of movement, but it was not. It was just retail sales, and we saw the dollar skyrocketing after that, the euro, pound, and so on moving to the downside. We saw gold going to the downside as well. Just indices, they kind of stayed a little bit the same or unchanged. Right, and then you had consumer sentiment also coming out even higher than expected. Right, people are getting confident with the data that's coming out with the economy. So let's see for long. Aside from that, we had Bank of Canada announcing another interest rate, remained the same as it was at the previous meeting. So second month in a row, keeping the 4.5%, and again, it's going to be data driven to see if it's going to just continue like it is. If by any chance, if they need to hike again, the governor mentioned that will be still on the table, right? That possibility. But for now, they'll just keep like it is. No mentioning or kind of also holding the views of a potential cut reduction in the interest rates, so just remaining as it is for now. That's basically the biggest news that we had during last week. Also, what started is the Q1 earnings, right? So, and we had some of the major banks in the US announcing their earnings, and we had really good positive results for JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo. For example, with JP Morgan even completely getting results much higher than expected. And one of the main benefits also is something to that we paid attention to. It's for the deposits, right? Since in March it was one of the worst months in terms of money moving away from deposits, especially in the regional banks, of course, due to all the crises that we have seen that happened in March with Silicon Bank. There you go. Basically, JP Morgan was one of the best beneficiaries from that move. People moved their capital, their deposits from the regional banks towards the bigger ones, or even towards some treasuries as well, to feel safe. And of course, the rate also that's getting paid at this point is maybe even higher than what they're getting paid in regional banks. Those regional banks are going to be actually announcing some of them their earnings during this week. Of course, it's going to be another big important focus to pay attention to, and the indices for sure are going to react towards that towards the data as it comes out. Also, we are going to have other different sectors starting to announce their Q1, right? We have, for example, Netflix is going to be a good example to see how the tech is going. And then Tesla as well, it's always a big one. It's going to be next Wednesday. Morgan Stanley as well on Wednesday. Then you have Blackstone, on Thursday. Procter & Gamble's to see the consumer aspect and sector as well on Friday, and many others. Like, it's going to be a full week of earnings being revised every day. If we pay attention to what should we expect for next week in terms of the data that's coming out, there's not going to be any big data in the US. It's going to be more for the Eurozone and the UK. We have CPI data coming out in in the UK, in the Euro, in Canada, and even in Japan as well. It's going to be interesting to see how well, how the data is coming out in Japan, since the new governor of the Bank of Japan last week, when he basically made his first appearance, he remained with the same monetary policy as the previous governor. So it's going to be a dovish approach. Let's see for how long as well. So at this point, the CPI, or the inflation in Japan, is at 3.1%. It was at 4 in February. Basically, the main reason for this reduction is because of the support from Japan in terms of the electricity bill, right? Something similar that happened a few months ago in the US, in the Eurozone as well, in the UK. Yes, so we have CPI data coming out across many countries. We have also unemployment in the UK to look at, and we have China as well. China is going to announce some data, GDP, retail sales, and so on. Is expected to show growth numbers, right? After last year, it was rough for China due to the zero policy to COVID. So let's see what kind of data is expecting to start showing some strength, which can also push eventually even the oil prices as well to go higher, right? Because China is one of the biggest, the second biggest economy in the world, so most likely is going to push price of oil as well to the upside. Yeah, that's basically it in terms of the big data that we're going to be looking at. Finishing with the manufacturing and services PMI on Friday, which is going to be one of another big data to come out, and the Fed most likely is going to pay attention to in order to then eventually make a decision on what to expect for the next meeting. Next meeting that. While last week or so it was around 70% or 68 to 70%, the odds to another hike at this point is 88%. So based on the last data that came out, the market is pricing in another 25 basis points for the rate to go to 5.25. This is almost guaranteed. The big question is what's going to happen afterwards, right? Because the market is basically expecting for the Fed to start cut the interest rate in the second semester, basically after summer, to start seeing some kind of reduction. As you can see in here, in September is already expecting 42% probability of going back to 5%, and even by the end of the year to be basically between around 4.75, right? So at least another reduction, and this is going to be again the biggest question mark, because the Fed hasn't really mentioned anything like that. As you know, since even last year, the market has been always much more positive than the Fed has shown in terms of this expectancy to see the reduction. The Fed has said, basically what we can see from the last Fed meeting and some of the commentary from some of the Fed members is, yes, some of them they still think that more hikes should be taken, so that we should see the interest rate to go higher. Some others, they may say that okay, maybe it's enough, another hike, and then you can pause. What we haven't heard is that for the reduction. So the market is pricing in a reduction. The Fed is not really mentioning anything like that, at least for this year. So that's going to be the biggest, I believe, divergence between what the market is expecting and maybe what the Fed is going to do. So yeah, and as we saw, that happened, for example, last August. It happened again close to the end of the year. Anytime we saw the indices kind of moving to the downside, it was a little bit of a shock of the conflict between what the market was expecting and what the Fed exactly did. So we'll see what's going to happen in that aspect. And of course, we're going to have some more information in the next meeting on the 3rd of May. Looking at the market, and as we saw, kind of what we were looking for, it was for the dollar to continue to move down and kind of retest this low. We actually managed to take this low. It took it like by 1 point or so, something like that. We managed to break it, still kind of reacting from the same level on the left side in here. So we didn't really even manage to break the demand zone where this low was reacting from, but we did manage to break this low. And after that, we saw a big reversal, which was again the catalyst. It was last Friday around that retail sales announcement. Is this the new low being created for now, for April? That's kind of the question mark. Is the market ready to reverse, at least in the FX? And most likely, if you start seeing the dollar to go up, maybe we're going to see maybe the indices to start moving a little bit to the downside. That's kind of the question mark. At this point, what we have seen since the beginning of this year is January moving to downside, February moving to the upside, March moving to the downside, and April for now halfway through it, we kind of continue to move a little bit to the downside to retest these lows in here since February, and let's see if we're not going to have kind of another move higher now for this next 2 weeks of April. In reality, I actually still like a little bit, something that it's important to start doing is as price is approaching these lows. Of course, important to look left, to pay attention actually in the bigger move where we are. And of course, what is actually these lows reacting to on the left side that can help you as well to predict if you should expect a little bit more of a move to downside or not. I did mention quite a few times that maybe this high by breaking this high in here, by breaking this level in here, it was maybe expected eventually for the dollar to go higher. But on the other hand, and the euro actually, it was even more clear than the dollar itself. And that's why correlation plays a big role on the analysis that we do. The euro actually reacted really nice from the low. So we're actually expecting new highs on the euro, which maybe could have expected then new lows on the dollar index, as we'll see in a bit when I show the euro. So let's see if this is not the beginning of a new cycle, maybe for the next 2 weeks until the next Fed meeting on the 3rd of May. Or by any chance, if price still kind of manage to respect this level, maybe we're going to have a continuation to the downside on the dollar. So yes, as price is approaching this level in here, let's see what's going to happen. We start having a little bit of a good level in here, so it will be important to see maybe this has been broken and price to kind of manage to hold this level in here in order to continue to move higher. So let's see what's going to happen in there on dollar things. But we may be in this phase of a new cycle, at least for the next two weeks. And then the indices as we go through. So a little bit of indecision. This S&P continues to move higher. We keep kind of respecting a little bit the lows and we keep kind of making new highs. However, we are still, as you know, and as you can see, we are still reacting from this previous level of resistance since February, right? And also, as I mentioned, I'm literally still looking for price to go a little bit higher, maybe to test these highs in here since August last summer before maybe a turn. We are indeed compressing, which is can be an indication that price may be turning. However, we do kind of need a proper break of a low in order to kind of validate that bearish momentum that may be start maybe close to occur. So we'll see. As long as kind of we keep respecting these lows, maybe price will eventually just continue to go higher, which can occur. I would like personally maybe from here price to start making new lows, create complete bearish momentum kind of scenario, and then just to do one last move up towards that level, and then it can drop, maybe retest even these lows, if not even start a bearish momentum from here. So we start being in between levels. Maybe even just a simple trade from that level could be just from here all the way to test this previous level of support resistance. If you do find that opportunity, maybe that will be more of an intraday setup. Maybe you can. Maybe from here, price will just continue to go higher. We'll see. Whenever we break this level, we most likely are going to create some kind of structure in here, which is going to be important to see if this level is broken to downside or if it is respected and price just wants to continue to go higher. So we'll keep an eye on the S&P to see what kind of data and price you're going to have in here. Nasdaq, a little bit similar, kind of we are in this range, even though S&P actually is moving a little bit higher than Nasdaq. But again, maybe a little bit higher could be an option, where we are definitely within this range. We'll see. Again, this level for me is quite important. So let's see what's going to happen when price does get close to that level. Eventually, maybe we can target this low, if not even further down. Something interesting in here is that actually with this low, we actually managed to break already this structure. So if you do have that turn occurring, maybe price is going to be able to target all these altogether in here, and most likely maybe can even go below this low. So that eventually, if you do have that initial turn, especially if you do break below that level, this low in here, let me go all the way through to here, and maybe you can even break below that level and start trading, getting closer to the previous lows. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in here on us as well. During this week, kind of maybe remaining until the next FOMC meeting. And then we have DAX. DAX just reacted from a really good level this morning. Again, we are getting really close to the all-time highs in here. We have this double top created somewhere in the beginning of 2022 in January. And this is basically one of the last zones, good zones in here on the DAX, then maybe above that level. And after that, you may go all the way through to the double top. So let's see how price is going to react. For now, reacting really nicely. It's going to be interesting if this level is going to manage to hold and if we're going to have any kind of turn in here all the way until there. So if we start breaking these lows, it was a really nice reaction. We may go through, maybe then first react to this level. If not, then maybe even continue to move down and maybe getting closer again to that zone. But you do need to break this level, that kind of this level. We'll see. But it's interesting also where it's approaching DAX at this point, and you're going to have some data related in the Eurozone, especially in Germany as well. So we'll see what's going to happen in there. Now, the other indices that you usually look for, which is, for example, the Euro index, we are trading really close to that, to these highs in here. So we are about to break maybe above this level. As you can see, at this point, we haven't really kind of the structure that maybe it's important to look for is maybe this one in here, maybe until kind of this level is respected. Maybe we could expect Euro index to continue to move higher. If it kind of break maybe below that, maybe we can attempt to go to this level and so on and so forth. At this point, Euro index is literally reacting from the extreme of that level that we talked about before. Where is it? In here. It's literally reacting from the extreme of this level. If you do break above that, there's a chance that maybe price wants to go and visit all this level in here, 1041, 42, something like that. Maybe first can even react a little bit, go down, and then eventually maybe fill this space all the way until there. And let's see what happens after that. If price by any chance then starts going down again, or just continues to go higher. This one here can be also an interesting level on the Euro index, right? Basically, even with the Euro moving to downside, but we had Euro Aussie, Euro Yen, Euro Pound, all of them going higher, right? And that's kind of why we have this kind of range in here on this euro index, because basically the move from last Friday in particular, it was not really caused by the euro, it was maybe caused for the maybe strong dollar, for example, or a weak yen as well. The yen that is going kind of still respecting within this demand zone, so it has reacted a few times from this level in a higher time frame, and now is reacting really from the extreme, from the last demand zone within this low. That's basically where the yen is reacting from, right? We have this strong trend line as well. Maybe if we do break above this trend line, maybe we can start having some kind of move like this, or by any chance, we're going to just continue to see a weak yen happening in here, right? So again, this was the important level. It was somewhere in here. As long as you kind of hold below this level, we didn't really have that that bullish signal. So let's see what's going to happen now. If by any chance we go from this extreme and resume to move to the upside, or if we're going to take this low and maybe continue to move down in here on the yen index. That is a good level in here to look at. So after this, we are going to go through the, it's really breaking down. We're going to go through the individual major FX pairs. We have, and start with the euro dollar. Again, as you could see, and this was something that I was just mentioning before, price respected really nicely this level in here, this low that created this high. Since there was no break below that level, eventually you could see the euro to break and continue to move higher, creating a new high. And even looking left, if you pay attention, kind of you may have still all this zone in here to fill. This was a nice reaction to where it reacted, and this was also a nice second zone to look for. It's basically the break of this compression zone. In alignment to that, that's basically where now euro is reacting from, and eventually you may go closer to the highs in there. So we may overall, maybe the move on the euro hasn't finished yet, this rally, but for now, nice reaction. Let's see where this price is going to find some level of support, right? And you can see exactly the movement that we had last Friday with during those news. So yes, again, question mark, is this the high for now, and price kind of starting to move a little bit further down, or price is going to still go higher and create a new high and continue this move, this rally to the upside, right? This level in here can be interesting in alignment to this level. Let's see below that, if price by any chance starts to getting closer to these lows, we may even go lower than that. So let's see how price may react around this level, and there's even maybe sell opportunities as well close to the highs in here. So this is kind of what we have on the euro, as we saw and we predicted, since we respected this level to create a new high in there. We have pound in here. Again, it fake out the highs in here. Pound, it looks like it can be a little bit more bearish than the euro. To be honest, it reacted from a good level in there on the left side. It can still eventually continue to go higher, but I wouldn't mind to see maybe pound actually going a little bit lower than that. Nice reaction in here. Price just fake out those size. It reacted exactly from this level during the news, and it just keeps moving lower. It just broke this low this morning. This level in here, it was there may be even the potential retest in here in continuation to the downside. And you can go and aim maybe all the way towards to this low. Instead of just stopping in here, you may actually go closer to that level, somewhere in here. So we'll see on the pound. Eventually, if this is actually maybe the high for now, we may go all the way down to test maybe these levels. That could be an option, but I want to see first maybe these lows in here being taken before that. If you do maybe go below this low, you may fill out this range, and you can even go below that and maybe target something in here on the pound. So let's see if that's going to happen or not. We have euro pound also making a move to the upside, right? The reverse of the pound dollar. What's the destination in here? Maybe price could go a little bit higher than this. I'm looking for price to go above this highs in here. maybe a little bit of a reaction in here, and then a little bit more higher in there, and we'll see after that if we start ranging a little bit more on the euro pound. Then we have Aussie. Aussie has been kind of a little bit in this range. It reacted from the level that we also were looking for again during the news. So let's see, we are kind of still a little bit in the middle. We didn't manage to break this low, so there's maybe a little bit of a potential to move down, and this could be one of those levels to have that continuation to the downside. Yeah, that could be it. If you do break above this level, then maybe expecting now price to go higher. If you do manage to break above this high again, I think we are definitely maybe going towards towards that level on the Aussie that has actually got positive data last week, labor market, and as you know, the Reserve Bank of Australia decided to keep the rate unchanged for the first time at 3.6%. So it's going to be again interesting to see how the economy is going to react towards that. The inflation it's going to continue to move down in Australia as well. So we are a little bit in the middle of the range. Maybe can try to attempt new shorts if price protests that level. Maybe trying to see as well how these lows are going to hold. If not, eventually maybe continue to move down. So let's keep an eye on that one as well. And then you have Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie has been one of the strong moves to the upside as well, but in a lot of rain compression, so it may be close also to a reversal in here. We just took out these highs, important highs in here, so we'll see. There may be some good opportunities in here for this week as well. And then the yen pairs, as we've seen, the dollar yen moving to the upside, the same way that we have seen the yen index moving to the downside. Personally, I think I'm looking for price eventually to get closer to this highs, even to take this highs and actually getting towards to that previous level of support resistance. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the yen. Nevertheless, there's maybe some zones underneath that price may react from. We did manage to take these highs. Maybe we can retest this level, maybe then continue to move higher after that. So let's see if the yen eventually is going to get closer to this 134 or 135 mark in there. That maybe would lead for the yen index to break those lows that we have just looked at. Another pair that have been rising is this euro yen, right? As you can see, it's approaching these highs all the way from October last year. So let's see how price is going to react around this structure in here, if by any chance we're going to have another move to the downside in here, or we just continue to rally and continue to try to attempt to take these highs. So we're approaching this level of structure, price reacting from there. Now we may take these highs first before moving down. We have this strong compression. No surprises if eventually we go all the way down to test this previous level of support resistance somewhere from here, and then let's see if we continue to move higher or not. That could be maybe one of the targets to look for this potential move to the downside on the euro yen. Pound yen also moving to the upside, managing to respect all these lows. If that keeps happening like this, expecting then new highs to be taken to be created on the pound yen, with price maybe attempting to go even there, or eventually to actually take all these highs in here before a turn to occur on pound yen. So let's see what's going to happen. If price by any chance goes, first of all, we may take a little bit of this structure, getting closer to that to some zone in here. But eventually may actually go all the way through and take these highs and turn after that. Yeah, so keeping an eye on this one as well. And then you have CAD. CAD made all the move to the downside. We tested basically these lows. We are within this range, right? We keep being within this range. in here. So are we going to continue to go higher from here, or are we going to maybe just retest this level and resume the move to the downside? This was basically one of the last zones in there at this lows that was still fresh. Price reacted quite nicely from it. So let's see if by any chance this level is going to still hold and price and CAD is going to start moving to the upside, or slowly we are going to resume the move to the downside from here, maybe towards that level. As you can see, it has been ranging for quite a while, and sometimes this happens, and dollar CAD likes to do that. So let's see if you do find some good opportunities in here to go long, go ahead and try to look for another rally on dollar CAD. Then you have dollar franc Swiss, which another one that basically reached one of these final targets from all this move to the downside. We have been bearish all the way through since price respected those highs in there that have been bearish. All this was super compressed. Yes, expecting some reactions in some of the levels, but eventually the final destination, yes, it will be somewhere close to this level, or can even go a little bit lower eventually. But there you go. We are now trading, reacting from this low in here, which can even be price can even take these lows eventually in here. But for now, good reaction from that level. It was another one that reacted to the upside with the news. We need this high in here to be broken in order for price to start creating more momentum to the upside. If by any chance this high keeps respecting price, we may eventually continue or resume the move to downside. And after we maybe break this highs, next destination is going to be somewhere in there on the retest of this previous level support resistance. So yeah, let's see if we have something like this happening or not. Momentum to the upside on our franc Swiss. Reacting from this demand zone, we do have this level as well that eventually price could go and react from. So yeah, maybe from here it's enough for price to continue to go higher, and at least aim that level on our franc Swiss. So basically all the prices have been kind of in alignment with the move on Friday. So let's see if this is the beginning of the new trend. We have gold also reacting from one of the vast zones closer to this top, which is actually a double top and all-time highs in there on gold. We are not really managing to break any lows so far. As you can see, basically every single low is being respected, even this one as well. So if you don't manage to kind of break below this low, maybe price will just resume once again the move upwards and kind of try to attempt and reach eventually these highs, which can be a possibility. Nice reaction from here so far. So let's see if by any chance gold is going to have any kind of reaction from here and manage to start breaking some kind of lows. Otherwise, as I mentioned, we may just continue to go higher. Nice move last Friday from there. There may be still more opportunities to look for a sell in there, but it will be, as I mentioned, nice to see these lows being broken before attempting that big sell on gold. And then, of course, next level of structure to be in here straight away. And then eventually, if you do manage to break below that level, then yes, then maybe we can start attempting to go back to this 1,850 mark. Yeah, so a few zones to look for on gold before attempt to make all this move down. Yeah. And oil, right? As you mentioned, oil, there is this spike in here. Not really sure if this was, if you guys also have this one happening, after just on the server. But again, it's trading. It keeps respecting these levels. We managed to break to the upside from within this range that we had. We create kind of a new range in here. So this was at this point still managing to hold price, this 81.70 mark. As long as kind of this level keeps being held, price may just continue to move upwards. If you do manage to break below this low, maybe at least you can maybe retest this 79.4 mark. And if you then, of course, if you manage to break below these lows, we may eventually fill out this gap that was created from 2 weeks ago when price jumped to the upside. This was a zone that kind of a supply level that we're looking for above this structure. Basically, it reacted from there with this spike during the open of the weekend open. So let's see if this is going to continue to go higher or going to break. So paying attention to these key levels in here to see if by any chance we have a move to the downside on oil, or if we're just not going to continue and maybe targeting this level in here, which would push oil close to the $90 mark in here. So it's going to be another one interesting to pay attention to. And let's just finalize with crypto. Again, last week we had another really bullish momentum, price going upwards. Nevertheless, price is starting to compress quite a lot. And we had basically one of the last move ups or strong move ups into one of the last levels as well within these highs all the way back from last year's summer. This was literally one of the last supply zones of fresh levels in here. It was exactly this one. As you can see, basically this one was already reacted from that one, this one in here, and this one was still fresh. None of these highs actually reacted from there. So that's basically one of the last ones, exactly where BTC reacted from last Friday, if not mistaken. And then it would go a little bit higher than that. So let's see, bigger picture, if you are going to manage to, if these highs are going to manage to hold price down, if you do take them, then next level of attention, it will be straight away that level at around 34,300, something like that, to pay attention to. Somewhere in here also it's going to be interesting to see eventually. If you do take these highs, you may even retrace for a while, with special attention then for this 25,000 mark that can eventually be used as a continuation to the upside on BTC in here. So let's see if now we can go a little bit below that level. Yeah, without this compression, yes, targeting this low. So basically with this low in here, we entered into this compression, looking for price to go all the way towards that level. If you do break below this level, then this is maybe the next zone, and then kind of can continue to move down as long as price keeps breaking these levels, or price will just respect it. This was a previous level of resistance as well. We have this demand zone in here, so this can maybe be a good level also to look for a potential continuation in there on BTC. But another good move happened in here over the weekend and since last Friday. Ethereum, I think it gained a little bit more momentum than BTC last week. We actually managed to completely break these highs in here from last summer in August, and we are trading or getting really close to this extreme in here. And we may break above these highs altogether and try to get maybe closer to this level in here, 2,300 basically. Something to pay attention to above that level, and eventually we can even go a little bit higher as well. So again, momentum in here, as we noticed, price never broke these lows, keep respecting this trend line, and it jumped to the upside. So let's see how price is going to behave somewhere in there to keep an eye on. We do have this previous level of resistance. Maybe price can hold it in here and continue to go higher. Or if you start breaking this level, let's see when price gets again closer to this previous to this trend line in here. Again, this previous level of support resistance. So all these levels can be good enough for price to find some support and continue to go higher. If by any chance these levels start being broken, and if you break below this low, we may open doors to go even farther down than that. And that's basically it. So price is approaching really interesting levels. On the indices, there's maybe still a little bit more room to the upside before maybe to turn. However, let's keep an eye to see if we start having that bearish signs or not, and maybe prices continue to move higher. On the FX, is this the new top and bottom for now? or is price going to resume the trend that it has been, and maybe dollar to continue to move down? Something to pay attention to as well, or by the chance we're going to have a new cycle, at least for 2 weeks, with this being the tops and the bottoms and price evolving from here. Oil market as well, interesting to see if we continue to move higher, getting closer to maybe to the $90 mark, or by any chance we're going to break down and maybe fill the gap, which will take us back to around $75 mark. So we'll see. Gold as well, are you going to eventually retest that double top that we have at the all-time highs at around 2070? So interesting. Market is volatile. There have been plenty of opportunities, either as a long as a short. Some markets are trending, some others are a bit more in a range. So it's all about finding your own edge and try to capitalize on those opportunities that the market is offering. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and I'll see you next time, next Monday. Have a good one. Bye-bye.